Hi, everyone. We are
Don't Mess with the Mommas.
Mommas, and we are. You are
I'm Carla Brown today.
Arlaana Black always, and our motto is:
You are the protagonist of your life, not the victim of your destiny.
And today is our 50th episode. Yay, yay, yay. Almost 1 year, 2 more to go to make a full year. We post every Wednesday. Isn't that wonderful?
Wonderful, wonderful.
Wonderful,
Marvelous that you should care for me.
Okay, here we go.
We didn't even plan that.
Hey. So this episode is called Fuel for the Soul. So just like a car needs fuel, your soul needs to be fueled. Now, you all know by now that we practice SGI, Nichiren Buddhism, and we are certainly not telling you need to at all, but this life philosophy works for every human being, encouragement, and everybody needs encouragement.
That's true.
Every human being. So we're going to share some of our favorite quotes from the original Buddha who first chanted Nam-myoho Renge Kyo in 1253, just a few years ago.
Yeah.
And Daisaku Ikeda, our international president, who passed away a few years ago, but wrote prolifically. They both wrote so many encouraging letters and books and how to really inspire each individual to become happy in this lifetime.
That's
not
right.
waiting until you die,
Yes.
in this lifetime.
I have to tell you.
Oh, sure.
My mother was always saying, you'll get your reward in heaven. And I was always saying, no, I don't want it then. I want it now.
Now, yes.
I want it in this. Why I can't have it now?
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about encouraging words for what you can have now. Should I start off, and then we'll go to you, and then we each have 4 each, and we'll talk about them, and then we love to hear from you, your encouraging words, and we are hearing more and more from people from YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Substack and LinkedIn and wherever you listen to or view your podcasts. Okay, so I love this one. You'll all relate to this one. When you encounter a wall, you should tell yourself, since there is a wall here, a wide open expanse must lie on the other side. Rather than becoming discouraged, know that encountering a wall is proof of the progress you have made so far. And many people feel like, this is the end, right? But it's just the beginning, right? What appears to be the end is really the beginning. So, the expression, you close one door, another door opens,
That's right.
And it never fails. It never fails, So there no such thing as you've hit a wall or you concluded, that's it, that's the end. You begin again. And I know I found it so encouraging when we closed our restaurant and that we were devastated and we lost everything.
Right.
And then everything opened up and we were able to move from a $500,000 home to $1 million home. And our son was able to get into a much better school that had he stayed in that school district, a top school in the nation, and our life really began again. So, you never know. What appears to be negative sometimes is the best thing to give you that push.
That's true. That's true.
You want to share anything about that one?
Well, I remember it's a little bit different.
Okay.
When I was going through a lot of, very young in my practice.
Right.
One of my leaders said, there's a silver lining behind every cloud.
Right.
So you just have to get past the cloud to see that sun. And the sun is always shining. Even on a cloudy day, it's always there.
Yep, absolutely. So share a quote?
Okay, so my quote is, if you light a lamp for someone else, it will also brighten your own path. And I think sometimes you'll hear something from somebody, it could be just a sentence, a little short conversation, and it just changes your whole disposition. It gives you the encouragement maybe to do something different, and it's wonderful to be able to have that and to give that, because it's true. You help somebody and it comes back to you. Like I said, I helped my sister go to school for just a couple of months. But that one thing that I did was the cause that I was able to finish my college when I didn't have any money and walk out with my degree. So you may think that you're not doing much, but just giving somebody something, and we always have to offer something, whatever it is. If it's a smile, if it's a bottle of cold water, if it's a Coke, offer something.
And I was thinking about one of our one of our friends was saying that he was in the elevator and his where he lives, and he said hello and how are you doing today to this very elderly man, and that gentleman said, "It's been so long since somebody has really asked me how I was doing." A simple act like that, right? And I always think about that great story about how this young guy, carried a bunch of books. He was leaving the library and carrying a bunch of books, and then the books fell because there were so many books piled up. So there was a young guy, about the same age, across the street, and he saw that, and he crossed the street, and he helped him with his books, and then they talked, and then they ended up becoming friends, and then they lost contact, and then, but somehow, many years later, this gentleman who had all the books was graduating as valedictorian of Harvard University, and the friend was able to get to his graduation, and unbeknownst to the friend, he said that many years ago when he had all those books, he was planning to commit suicide. But because somebody crossed the street and helped him with the books, he turned his life around, and he ended up becoming valedictorian of Harvard. So you never know, the smallest act can really impact not only that person but you as well.
Comes back.
So okay, I'm going to share the next one. Okay, I like this because when people when I am at the supermarket checkout line and I have to wait, they say thank you for your patience, and I look at them. I said I don't have any patience. so that's my whole life has been like a lesson in trying to learn patience, right? And then earlier over coffee, Carla was saying, oh, maybe you want to practice Tai Chi because every time I exercise, I end up hurting myself, and like I can't exercise for the next month. She said, practice Tai Chi. You said practice Tai Chi, right? Yeah. And I said, I don't think I have the patience for it, but maybe I need to learn that. Okay, so this says, and this was written by Nichiren Daishonin, so of course it's a Japanese location. The journey from Kamakura to Kyoto takes 12 days. Of course, no bullet train at that time, right? If you travel for 11, but stop with only 1 day remaining, how could you admire the moon over the capital? And so many times we get, so impatient wanting to see results. And then when we don't see results, when we think we should see results on our time, on our limited capacity concept of when things should appear, right? You never see the results. So, it requires tremendous patience and determination not to give up. And I know that, I don't know if it was Thomas Edison saying, so many people are so close to breaking through and they end up giving up right before the breakthrough, So I know that in our case, I was so discouraged when we couldn't get this particular house that we were determined to get. Right. I really lost confidence, but then we had to keep on going. And then we were able to find a house that was much less expensive, much bigger, perfect situation, much better situation. And had I met Chuck, I was engaged 3 times, had I met Chuck much earlier and gotten married to, had I gotten married, earlier, I would never have the opportunity to meet Chuck. So, somehow that, the timing was so perfect that even though I had to wait to get married a long time, I met the perfect person for my life. So did you want to share anything about that?
When you talk about timing and patience, President Gator says that you can't plant a seed today and expect it to grow tomorrow.
Right.
And I planted some grass seeds, and I keep looking, Are you growing? Are you growing? So I'm trying to relax on that. Have a little patience. Go do something else, and then come back and look at the grass.
And to me, somebody who's able to grow something from the ground is a magician. I've said this before. They're like magical. To me, farmers are like the presidents of the world, because to be able to grow something and to create something out of nothing, seemingly, but out of a simple seed. And we have ginger plants that no matter how many times we cut them down, they grow up and they grow up and they grow up, and they started with just bulbs, so they don't quit. So, life potential is always existing. So,
yeah. Oh, another thing. I remember about not giving up. I had a printer, and it was like, last minute kind of stuff. I had to get a paper done, and the printer wasn't working, and and my when I'm really stressed out, I'm better now. I just want to throw myself on the ground, put my arms and legs up, and just cry, and then I thought about President Toto, who was the second president of the Soka Gakkai, and he was in wartime Japan, and all the things that were wrong with him. He had heart trouble. He had diabetes. He had bad eyesight. He wore glasses. I mean, all these things, okay? And I said, well, if President Toto could do the things that he did, okay, help people to become happy, I can't lay here and not
fix my printer.
Fix my printer. So I got myself together, wiped my eyes, and went back at it. And I got everything done in a timely fashion.
I love it. All right, back to you.
Okay. So I'm definitely for women, and men too.
Of course.
Okay. I love
everybody.
men.
We respect all.
Okay. Women are the protagonists in building a better society. Their wisdom and actions are the driving force for the creation of an age of peace and democratic humanism. The new human revolution. Okay, and that's from chapter 18 moving forward. So I like this because this is the first practice that I've ever done that gave women their props. They said you can be enlightened. You can be a Buddha. Nobody else, no other thing, gave me those props. So hey, and I always felt like, why can't women do this, or why can't women do that? And and so this is my dream come true.
Yeah, for sure. And what's so interesting is that, Nichiren Daishonin, and this is the 13th century in feudal Japan, he talked about women having even more power than men, or not power in the sense of power, but capacity to dialogue, what we call today soft power to dialogue. And when you think about the times, and we're still struggling with this issue all around the world, not respecting everybody as equals. I don't care, men, women, black, white, pink, purple, rich,
Green,
poor, whatever, tall, short. But in those days, women had no rights whatsoever in the 13th century. And here, this revolutionary guy was saying, women have this capacity, this limitless capacity. So recognizing everybody has, a wonderful mission in life and should be appreciated.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love it. So this one is, this is one of the writings of Nichiren Daishonin. It's the shortest one. So when I first read it, I said, really? And everybody now loves it. And because it says everything in the shortest possible way, suffer what there is to suffer.
Yes.
Enjoy what there is to enjoy. Regard both suffering and joy as facts of life. And continue chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo no matter what happens. How could this be anything other than the boundless joy of the law? So, it sounds so simple, but many people won't allow themselves to, when it's time to suffer, to experience that fully, especially if you have a death of a spouse, or most horridly of a child, right? And they deny themselves. They actually cut themselves off from feeling, But it's really important to go through. You can't go around it. You have to go through the process. also when it's time to be joyful, don't feel guilty. It's like,
Yeah.
and I know, I come from a background where guilt is our middle name, right? And not the only person, certainly, but so it's okay to be happy, to feel free and happy. You don't think that something is around the corner causing doom and gloom. So experience fully the most natural way of being. When it's time to struggle, and maybe not even the word suffer, but when it's time to struggle, yes, yes, that's a reality in life. But then when it's time to be joyful, enjoy.
When I first began practicing, I was like, everything was a problem. Okay, every single thing was a problem, and I would be so upset and unhappy, And when I read that, suffer what there is to suffer, enjoy what there is to enjoy, regard both the facts of life and continue, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go with that. That makes sense, and then my whole attitude about problems started to change. It shifted.
Sure.
And you can always go back and recall these things. Okay, I'm suffering now, but I'm gonna get through this. Life is both suffering and joy. You
Right.
can't have one without the other.
Absolutely.
We live in a dualistic reality.
Yep.
So, and that's how we know joy, because of the sufferings.
Sure, that's right. Without suffering, you can't experience joy because you'll have nothing to compare it to, right?
Right.
Okay, back to you.
Okay, I'm back to the women again. Okay, I just love these quotes. The power of women can be likened to the power of the earth. When the earth moves, everything is affected. The strength of women is unlimited. Nothing can surpass it. And that's from the New Human Revolution, volume 11, Light of Dawn chapter. There's another saying also about the woman being the bow and the man being the arrow. And I think they have, maybe different cultures have different ways of saying it, but whichever way the bow aims itself, that's where the arrow is going. And I like that. It doesn't mean that men don't have power. They do have power.
Of course.
But women, they want to get something done, they get it done.
And, working together and not saying I'm better than you, you're better than me, and just really harmoniously working together is really the key to everyone, and we don't care, we don't care who you love, what you want to, how you define yourself, whether you're, man, woman, LGBTQ, trans, whatever, just let's harmoniously all people work together, because at the bottom line is we're born human.
That's
right.
it.
Or we certainly are born biologically human. And then
Yes.
and then it takes a lifetime to really develop that humanity, or not, but hopefully, yes.
True.
So finally, the last quote, and this is from the Human Revolution is a historical account of the life of the SGI, and our international president wrote this. He wanted to leave a legacy of, how the organization developed over time for peace, culture, and education, and the happiness of all humankind. So the very opening is the very opening of the very first volume. The change in the destiny of a single individual will change the destiny of a family, a community, a nation, and ultimately all humankind. And Zoe, our dog, agrees totally with this quote. And there have been so many examples throughout history, many examples from the civil rights movement, because that was about humanity, doing the simplest things and changing history. Rosa Parks not wanting to move to the back of the bus because she was really tired. She was exhausted. So that caused a tremendous change, right? Ruby Bridges wanting to go to school, started the movement toward integration. And religiously, Martin Luther, when he posted his 95 Theses to the door, because he said the Catholic Church at that time was corrupt, and he listed all the ways it was corrupt. And what he did changed everything and started a new religious movement. And even Isaac Newton, dropping the apple, right?
Yes.
It's so simple. And I don't know. I mean, he was a brilliant scientist. But when he saw the apple drop, he said, a law of gravity, right? Today we have anti-gravity, which is getting really dicey. But that each person, you never know. Just like that person I mentioned, crossing the street and saving that person's life, essentially.
Right.
You never know the smallest action that can have a ripple effect. And, a ripple effect ultimately changes to a change in the destiny of all humankind. So you wanted to say something about that, or you want to go on to your quote?
I think I want to go on to the
last quote. Okay.
Because I got a senior moment here.
And that's not high school senior.
Yeah. A coward cannot have any of his prayers answered. And that's from the Strategy of the Lotus Sutra. Courageous resolve urges men to cast off fear and adopt a proactive spirit to break through the impossible obstacles. So I had to have something for men. I didn't want it to be all women. All right. So, and this is a letter, I think, was to Shijo Kingo.
Yeah, that's
all right. He was a samurai and a physician, and it's amazing how many things you could be in one lifetime. So I like this because it gives you the idea to just use this Nam Myoho Renge Kyo first before you do anything else, because we could think about, I'll do this, I'll do that. So, and it may not be the right thing that the right action to take. But if you're chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, you will take the right action. You'll move in the right direction. Even if you don't know exactly what you're doing, your life will be guided in the best direction.
And once again, we're not telling people you need to chant at all. That's not what we're doing. But just that kind of philosophy that not to be cowardly, to be courageous, whatever that means, to be courageous. Is really important. Yeah.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yep, absolutely. So before we conclude, we have a couple of shout outs, and I love this one. This is from YouTube, and I guess they don't mention people's names, but this is quite extensive. And this is from Mirror World, which is a lot of fun when we talked about the mirror, like, stop blaming the mirror if your face is awry. I can relate not only to the topic and those old flames who mirrored the flaws and things I couldn't accept about myself, but seeing those patterns play out with my parents and who they date and have dated. It's been enough to the point where I've taken an indefinite hiatus on joining the dating pool until I get into a better space mentally, physically, spiritually, and otherwise. This rings true to me. Actually, there is a name here, Monique Verse. And then another one. I love this one. Very nice discussion on how no, not this one. Let me read that. Very nice discussion on how self-reflection can help us to become a more authentic version of ourselves. But this one is really funny. Stumbled upon your podcast. I thought you were a knitting podcast because we did an episode on one woman who is a brilliant, knitter and makes beautiful quilts. Stayed and listened and enjoyed, and really happy that I found you. Hello from a knitter in Canada.
Okay.
And do you?
Yes. Yeah. I believe it was Vic Damone, I think Junior, from TikTok. He watched our video on poison into medicine, and it said it gave him an idea to write something. So, that was a very positive thing, and I was very happy about that.
Yay, okay. Inspire.
Thank you, Vic.
Thank you. Thank you all. Yes, thank you. Okay, so two encouraging words, even though we just shared a lot. What can the individual accomplish in the face of the huge institutions that run our world? This feeling of powerlessness fuels a vicious cycle that only worsens the situation and increases people's sense of futility. At the opposite extreme of this sense of powerlessness lies the Lotus Sutra's philosophy of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life and the application of this teaching to our daily lives. This principle teaches us that the inner determination of an individual can transform anything and everything. It gives ultimate expression to the ultimate potential and dignity inherent in each human life. We all have it. We all have that beautiful seed. We just have to water it, let it grow. And then this one. The Lotus Sutra has the drama of fighting for justice against evil. It has a warmth that confronts the weary. It has a vibrant, pulsing courage that drives away fear. It has a chorus of joy at attaining absolute freedom from the past, present, throughout the past, present, and future. It has the soaring flight of liberty. It has brilliant light, flowers, greenery, music, paintings, vivid stories. It offers unsurpassed lessons on psychology, the workings of the human heart, lessons on life, lessons on happiness, and lessons on peace. All such a mouthful. It maps out the basic rules for good health. It awakens us to the universal truth that change in one's heart can transform everything, right?
True.
So with that, we are Don't mess with the Mommas, MOMMAS, with our motto,
You are the protagonist of your life, not the victim of your destiny.
Don't forget, we post every Wednesday, and the next episode is called Highway.
Oh, yeah.
What is it called?
Life is a highway.
Life is a highway. Yeah, after the song, right?
Yes,
Life is a highway. So we'll be talking about life is a highway. But please listen to us, view us on all major platforms,
and share us.
And share us and share you. Share who you are. Mommas, MOMMAS podcast@gmail.com, or leave us a message on TikTok or YouTube or wherever, we're Instagram. But thank you so much for listening and viewing, and you are the best of the best. Never forget that. You were born into this lifetime with a unique mission only you can fulfill in whatever shape, form, whatever you find yourself. So you are precious. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.